Is Iran at war with the UK? Yes, but officially no. Now, if the UK was officially at war with Iran, then the UK assets in the Middle East would become legitimate targets for Iran. So by the UK saying they are on the defensive mode and is cunning, British, tricky, completely colonial, tricky behaviour of because the UK wants to avoid being a target, having its assets a target. But let's have a look at the wider conflict and what are the causes and what are the common factors in this war and in many other wars and how the global economy works. And the economists will you can study economics for 4 years, get a degree in economics, but there are two ways Western countries' economies survive, and they get cheap raw materials, resources from the former colonies, and by means of installing a vassal leadership, a corrupt leadership uh, that sells them their resources and lives the leadership live a life of luxury, and the people don't really matter. And this is Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, all these countries in the Middle East who are now shaking because they're worried about Iran attacking them. These countries are part of the economic system of the West, and this conflict is in the Middle East, but the system is the same in Africa, South America, Central America. Exploit the resources of the former colonies, and so that's supports, and all these raw materials they support Western countries, the UK, and fiat money, printing money. So these two things keep the economy going. Printing money like a Ponzi scheme, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The Western currencies, they get higher and higher and higher. Inflation puts them higher. Profit goes up and up. Standard of living goes up and up. And so you got the Ponzi scheme of printing fiat money and getting resources. So this is how the world works now, how the economies survive. And up until now, we see some potential change coming in the future. But let's go back to the history of this conflict. And you can go back and back and back, but I think the main start of the conflict now is not 2 weeks ago. That is a campaign. Israel did not start this conflict. They started a campaign. They started a battle, but the conflict started with the UK's response to Iran nationalizing their oil in 1951. And I've just got here on from the action the UK took when Iran nationalized its oil. They put sanctions and they encouraged other countries. They put pressure on other countries to stop buying, to not buy Iranian oil, and they made an economic embargo, and none of it worked. And so then they started a coup d'état. They were planning a coup d'état, but the Iranians found out about it and expelled the British. When you try and start a coup d'état in a country and another country tries to overturn your leaders, this is an act of war, and the economic sanctions and all these different economic means. This is actually warfare, the economic warfare, and it destroys a country but it's different to bombs. But nonetheless, it is a war. So the UK started this war. Okay, so then, just a moment. So then the conflict, this conflict. So this kind of action has happened before, that former colonies and former vassal countries try to exert their own sovereignty of their country and control their own resources. And what happens when they do this? The neighboring countries attack them. They see an opportunity and they feel threatened, because the neighboring vassal countries who are under control of the Americans or the British or the French or even the Chinese nowadays, they will feel threatened. They're like monarchies. The monarchy, if a monarchy is next to a republic, the monarchy feels threatened because the republic is distributing the wealth, the resources of the country to the people. If Iran wins this conflict, they will become wealthy. They will spread their wealth to the population. They will start to help their allies, and the monarchies who are greedy leaders, living a life of luxury while the people struggle. Saudi Arabia, the different countries, Bahrain, they survive by being a brutal dictatorship. And I was seeing something about the security forces in some of these dictatorships. They get their security from overseas because they cannot employ the local people. They don't trust the local people, I should say. They can employ them, but they don't trust the local people because they are exploiting and just living an easy life. So I want to remind two things. Excuse me. I want to just remind two things that are not in the news, but they're not a conspiracy theory or anything. Everyone knows about them, but they're just ignoring them. And that is the Arab Spring. In the Arab Spring, the Arab countries were voicing their discontent with their governments. Excuse me. And the governments were these Arab governments are just like I say, living a luxurious life. And in Bahrain, they had the Arab Spring, and Saudi Arabia sent tanks into Bahrain to suppress the Arab Spring. So regarding regime change, Trump is talking about regime change. Now, Iran government are there, whether good or bad, they are working for the people. Now, the people, Bahrain and Saudi Arabia and UAE, they're all working for themselves, for their own family, living a luxury. So they feel threatened from an independent, free country in the region. So I heard some rumor that Saudi Arabia were actually trying to egg on the US to fight Iran, but now the war actually started. Then they changed their mind. They realized they were going to be part of the target. They wanted Iran to be destroyed, but they didn't want to be involved. And the reason for this is because it leads to the other point I wanted to remind everyone of: the war in Yemen and the coalition of Arab countries which invaded Yemen in 2014 or 2015. And Saudi Arabia led this coalition of forces to invade Yemen, and they got bogged down in a war, and in the end, was stalemate and a truce. So now Saudi Arabia don't want to get bogged down in another war. Trump is asking them to join them. Why aren't you coming and joining? Because Saudi Arabia had a taste of Yemen, and Yemen is far weaker military than Iran, and so the change. This war can lead to regime change in some of the Arab dictatorships, but not Iran. So it wasn't what Trump was looking for when he said regime change. Now, that leads to the other thing is, why is the UK at war with Iran? Why don't we just stand back? Why did Tony Blair go join hands with Bush? And the answer is the same. Why when the coalition invaded Iraq, there was Canadians, I don't know, there was Italians, there was a whole group of, there was Australians, and the whole of the Western countries are busy exploiting the former colonies, and they all work together informally, and even China is also colonizing the world and taking over the world. China just move in with a suitcase full of money or gold, a suitcase full of US dollars, and they buy up a country, and the colonial countries they will maybe bomb and different technique, but the result is the same. So why is the UK? Because the UK economy survives with the raw materials, with the resources of the poorer countries. And if the poor countries are given like economic independence, the UK economy will collapse. Now, if Iran wins, which is looking good for them at the moment, other countries will see, other neighbouring countries who want to exert their independence, like economically, they will see it and they will be inspired. And so the Western countries, it's an existential war, not only for Iran, it's an existential war for America and the whole of the West. If they don't beat Iran will start to become stable, wealthy. They will distribute the wealth. If there's no sanctions against them, they will distribute the wealth of the oil to the people. They will rise up and they will help their neighbors, and it will spread. So this is existential war for America. If America loses against Iran, the American economy will crash. And when the American economy crashes, all the Western fair economies will crash. That means Sweden, Norway, Australia, Canada, UK, France, they will be pushed into deflation. Mortgages, people won't be able, the whole economies will crash. So this is what happens with so the thing to understand is that Iran has to attack the neighboring vassal countries, and if you get a country in Africa that's standing up for itself, all the countries around surround it and destroy it and compromise it. And but now Iran is standing up because it was given a breathing space while Iraq was being destroyed for 20 years after 9/11, when that time gave Iran a breathing space to build up their military. So it was they didn't intentionally do it, but the sacrifice of Iraq, and slowing down the US on their agenda to attack Iraq, to attack Iran, And so then the it's bringing around a change in the world, a multipolar world where countries don't have to be tagged to the US dollar. And if you look at Saudi Arabia was joining BRICS. There was big news. Saudi Arabia is joining BRICS, but when you went into the details, Saudi Arabia has not joined BRICS. It's like, but if the US loses its bases in Saudi Arabia, then Saudi Arabia will join BRICS. So all these Arab states relying on US military power, without the US bases, they will actually collapse because the people do not give them support. They have support by suppression and lethal means and killing protesters. So there is changes coming. I don't, unfortunately, a lot of bloodshed, but a lot of countries will be getting freedom around the world if Iran wins. It's not only a war between Iran and the US. This is a war. If Iran wins against the US, looking good, all the former colonies will be looking for economic independence. This brings around the collapse of the Western economies. There's no way around it. Okay. I just wanted all this information I'm giving you is just readily available from search engines. But people are not talking about what Arab Spring and the war against Yemen and how that is shaped, how this is shaping the present reaction of the Arab countries towards Iran, and they're trapped. These Arab dictatorships, they're aligned to the US, but the people are Muslim and see the US as the enemy. So they only have power while they have money to pay the military and the police to suppress the people. They lose the oil income. It's over for them. So this is an existential war for all the Arab countries. Now the US economy, it could have survived if it wasn't for the tariffs and the debt and all that. And now on top of that, you have oil prices going up. If they reach 150, 200, that's basically the US is in depression. Okay. But the future is bright after we get through the next bloody years. The future of independence for every country. Bye.